welcome back to North Knives. My name is Andrew, and what you're looking at here is a TOOR Knives STRS in Phantom Gray, which I have added a tech lock to the back of. This is a really neat blade from TOOR Knives, more of an EDC style blade. It does come in CPM M4. I'm going to talk through more of the specs later in the video. I've done a little bit with TOOR Knives in the past. You've seen some of those videos, and I'm a big fan. I really like their tactical edge and fighting blade style, but they also do some EDC and I would say outdoorsy blades as well. I'm going to try to feature more of those on my channel going forward because this is a cool niche of the market. It's a really nice American-made blades, and they do have an appeal across multiple disciplines and we'll say avenues of interest for lots of people. So in this video, I'm just going to show you a little bit of EDC work in the way that I usually use a blade. We'll come back at the end, wrap it up, and I'll tell you what I think of this blade in comparison to other EDC fixies on the market. All right, here's a piece of thicker fabric. Let's see how this cuts. Oh, no way. It actually almost cut all the way through. There's maybe just a pinch left on there. It's a lot of belly. There's a lot of sweeping belly there to make those cuts. Yeah, that's a very thin, acute edge. It may not be like a woodworking style grind, but as far as EDC tasks go, yeah, this is going to do really well. I can tell this is going to slice open boxes and zip ties and that sort of thing just fine. I got a little bit of paracord here. Let's sacrifice a little paracord. How about just a push cut? Yep, nice clean cut. Go down to the tip. It is a little thinner on the tip. It's a slightly different grind on this knife. Right about there, maybe a little, not quite as thin, but okay, right here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to work for it just a little bit more towards the tip, but the belly seems to have a lot of push cut potential, at least more than the tip. And for an EDC blade, I mean, honestly, I'm just gonna be grabbing this thing and pushing it through stuff. You know, I'm gonna beat up this blade and have to resharpen it, reprofile it from time to time. But with the CPM M4, I do think that this is gonna have a pretty decent level of hardness. If I remember right, I think I read on the website that this is hardened to around 62 HRC. And so that's very hard for CPM M4, and it will also allow me to probably only just buff this edge out from time to time, and I won't have to reprofile it completely as often as I would with something like 1095. Now here's something kind of unique. I've got a little bit of horseshoe tinder fungus, which when it dries out on those birch trees, it makes a great tinder. Not a bushcraft knife, but just out of curiosity, I want to see, can I push cut through one of these? Because these are famously hard and difficult to cut through. With a knife that is under 4 inches, can I pry it apart? Can I slice it apart is a good question. You can actually use these at times, and the other white ones, the polypores, you can actually use those to strop your knife. They're very consistent on the inside, but tough, very tough when they're dry to actually cut apart. And I could do it. Wow. The top of this is super, super dense. You have an inner part that's not so much, but the edges actually make it really hard to cut through, and I was able to slice through that, which is a good sign. That just tells me that I can exert a good amount of force with this, and even though it's a smaller blade, you know, EDC friendly size, in both tactical application and just regular opening of things, or maybe a little bit of woodscraft and outside stuff, which is always going to be a part of my application, I can still trust this to do some stuff. With knives that are about this size, one of the things I really appreciated about EDC-sized fixed blades is the ability to use them in different ways, almost like a pencil, detail work, being able to hold it safely and not, you know, injure myself. A bigger knife, even something, let's take a look at what I'm wearing right now. I have the Willow from TOOR Knives. And the Willow is more of an EDC hunting blade, maybe kind of like a skinning blade is probably what I would aim at with this one. But you see some similarities here, and you just see that this has a bigger handle and also a bigger blade. There's more of a chance that I could, you know, make a mistake, or I have more blade real estate that I have to be responsible with and careful with, versus this guy, which I do have a nice thick handle. Ergonomically, it's a little bit easier, just it wraps into my hand. I have XL size hands. You can see that this wraps in really nicely. If you have XL size hands or smaller, I don't think you're going to struggle with this at all. It could even be just a touch big for some people who have very, very small hands. Anyways, I like the ability to use it in different ways. It's got some dexterity to it and ability to do just finer tasks without fighting the blade and being so worried about extra edge hanging off somewhere. Like I said, belly on this guy, it's a slicer for sure. Really nice belly on that. If I ever do touch it up or reprofile it, I'm also not too worried about this finish. I think this finish is pretty resilient overall. Not an issue, nothing that I feel like I need to address or remove or tumble on my own. I think I'm gonna leave exactly how it is right now. It's gonna prevent it from ever rusting on me. It is CPM M4, it's a resilient steel on its own, but with that finish, it's just gonna be that much easier for me to not worry about it as an EDC blade that will get wet, maybe you'll get food on it, I'll wash it off at the kitchen and dry it off, you know, probably the best that I can, but it'll go right back in that sheath. Another thing that I like to do with EDC style blades is I just wanna do a push cut test or a pull through test on a zip tie. So I think that can tell me about slicing capability. All right, so with the thicker zip ties, they can actually do some edge damage. You know, hard plastic like that, almost through. Okay, and I kind of figured this would be the case. What I see is lots of power closer and closer to the sharpening trail here, this part of the belly, and it's just part of the grind, I think, as well. It's thinner here. It pushes through a little better. The knife is very sharp, like hair popping sharp, but as far as thinness goes for, you know, popping these pieces apart, this is probably the more acute bit, and then this is just slightly more, I don't know, the angle, it changes just enough up here. So the hope is that you're gonna keep enough of an edge up here, and then for really slicey things, you can go down here. This is not going to become dented and all dinged up and stuff. It's more likely to come into contact with things like that anyways. So some knife companies will intentionally not have this part of the belly be quite as sharp as this part. Perhaps that's part of the design, perhaps it's not. It's just functionally, that's what's going on. And it's working. It's still very slicey there. Now that I've used it for a couple weeks, I think it's time. This would be the first time I've done anything with it. I'm just gonna touch it to this ceramic stone. And I am gonna cut into the stone. And then I'll do leather for probably 3 passes. And we're gonna see if it's back to hair popping sharp. With CPM M4, man, I can go a while. I can really go a while without needing to do much. Even this is probably a little over the top. The leather might be enough. But just for consistency's sake, this is kind of how I test knives, and it's what I usually do. So, for the sake of science. I don't even have compound on this strop. I'm going to put some conditioner on it later, but for now, I'll just run it across the top. There should be enough material. I can feel one little burr. It's a small burr, and it might have been from a piece of wood I was cutting last night. I was using this to cut into some roots, and I definitely plunged it into the dirt multiple times, probably hit dirt and rocks, aside from some really hard buckthorn. Okay, I think I got it. Yep, feels like I got it out now. My guess is this is taking the strop just fine. Probably should have started here. Okay. I don't feel any burrs, Is it here popping sharp? Absolutely. Well, that was back to hair popping sharp pretty fast. I'm pleased with that. I don't have a lot of experience with M4 actually, but the last two blades that I've messed around with in M4 have done really well with stropping. And this isn't the thinnest knife, but it does come down to a pretty nice acute edge. Like I said, especially right in here, and just slightly thicker up here, especially behind the shoulder. I'm very content with that, especially because there is a distal taper down to the point, and that point is still plenty acute for doing the kind of things I would need to with a tactical blade, a self-defense blade, or in my case, an EDC fixed blade. Going over some of the features here, you should know this is 6.4 inches overall, which I think is the sweet spot. Right at 6.4, 6.3 inches, somewhere around there, I think is perfect for an EDC fixed blade. Personally, the way that I use blades, I love that. You get a 2.75 inch fixed blade with that. That's your cutting length up there. Again, perfect. It's going to fit a lot of jurisdictions really well for those of you who can carry a fixed blade like this in public. Your handle length is 3.65 inches, so that's something you can do at home, just kind of measure to see what you're going to need. For me, again, with XL size hands, this is working perfect. My thumb rests up on that inset jimping, which is not extra aggressive. It's aggressive enough, but not horrible aggressive, not meat grinder. So I like that. Very, very good. Handle material is going to be G10, and this does have liners. There's a green liner in there. I would say the scales meet up pretty well overall. Maybe like a minor over, I don't know. There's maybe a nub, if I really feel for it, there's maybe a little bit of a nub of a high spot there on one of the G10 parts. I'm really not concerned about it at all, and I don't feel any other nubs or high spots anywhere else on the blade. Really fantastic job on that G10. Check out that texturing that they do. It's very cool, and it doesn't beat up your hand. It's not so aggressive that it hurts. Again, it's just like the jimping on top. It's functional, but it's not painful on your hand. Very comfortable, and aesthetically, it looks a lot cooler in person than it does probably in the video. It's just like a couple little different glints of color that I'm seeing in it when I look at it, and they are kind of 3D. They're textured and contoured. And with that green liner on my particular one, I have Phantom Gray. That's what's going on here. Really neat. So that's G10. You are looking at CPM M4 steel, and the blade thickness, looking back here, blade thickness is going to be 0.156 inches, pretty appropriate for something like this. Blade hardness is from 60 to 62 on the Rockwell hardness scale, and the weight, believe it or not, this blade at 6.4 inches is only 3.38 ounces. This is not a heavy blade. It's a pretty reasonable blade. I have many folders, like several folders, that are heavier than this, but not as robust as this blade is. So well done on the contours and the proportionality of the blade and the ergonomics. I think this is a win. I recognize the sheath matters for a lot of people, so taking a look inside that sheath, you can probably see there's something kind of funky in there. There's like a velvet lining, it looks like, a little bit of material. That's their quiet sheath. I'm going to call it technology. So when I put the knife inside of the sheath, it does click in. It's got retention that actually snaps, and I appreciate that very much. It does snap into place. It doesn't have a lot to overcome to get in there, so your clearance is very good. It gets you into position right away. You're not going to have to readjust when you pull the knife out to, get your hand where it feels more comfortable. That's one thing that is done really well on most of the TOOR knives, sheaths, and blades, is your position when you grab it, it's ready to go as soon as you pull it out. So the sheath is not huge. It's got a reasonable footprint. I put a tech lock on this one because I've been wearing it outside the waistband, and actually I can kind of tuck it under my shirt. It works just fine. Most of the time I'm allowed to wear fixed blades in my jurisdiction. It's not an issue for me, but I just like to have it tucked away. It doesn't have to hang out there. And like I said, snaps into place and incredibly quiet. It's not going to make any noise at all. There's no rattle, zero rattle with these sheaths. You sit at the table? Okay.
Lego and I go in the lawnmower, this thing gonna get?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, when I sit in that seat, when I sit in that seat, when I sit in that seat.
You can go sit there.
What?
You can go sit there and look.
Okay, well,
All right, that's all I have for you guys. Remember, this is the STRS from TOOR Knives. American made, 100% American made. You're supporting American jobs with this. I chose to go with the Tech Lock option, but you don't have to. There's a bunch of options on their website. Pretty much everything I'm aware of is available there for carrying. You have lots of mounting and lashing holes. You've got great retention, a totally quiet sheath, G10 that is contoured really well, and incredible steel. M4 steel is very resilient. So if you're looking for an EDC fixed blade that is American made, you're sporting American jobs, and actually does what it needs to do, I think this is something I could get behind, and I do recommend it. If you want to see more videos on this blade, go ahead and comment down below what you want to see. Otherwise, what's up next is going to be another TOOR Knives. This is their Willow, and I really am excited to talk about applications with this guy as well. Both of these will be on the channel for a good time to come, and you're going to see them in practice, especially in my fall content, which I'm working on right now.